Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. I'm really intrigued by this episode because I don't know much about this person. But interestingly enough, I realized that when you fly on Christmas Day, you sometimes get gifts that you didn't know you needed. And that's how I found out about my guest. I was walking through DCA, traveling to Florida for Christmas, and I ran into a classmate of mine, and we just started catching up. And when I told him that I had a podcast, he says, wait, you got to get my friend on. I was like, okay, tell me more. Because, everyone, wants their friends on a podcast, and not that mine is like great. I mean, it is great, but you don't know what you don't know. But let me tell you what I didn't know. And my ears just perked up. I think Andre and I talked the entire time because I was so intrigued about, well, if your friend has done a several tries, why haven't you? You now live in beautiful Costa Rica. You have access to swimming in the beautiful ocean every day. You can run on the beach. I'm grilling him on the plane, right? But this guest went to school right across the street. Well, there were railroad tracks that separated our schools. I went to Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, and he went to Florida State University, but we took classes at each other's schools. But he actually went to school and was a competitive swimmer on Florida State's team. Drop the mic. Yes, I never have I ever had an opportunity to interview a male competitive swimmer who happens to be a Black man, who happens to be a Washingtonian, who happens to have also competed at the U.S. Olympic trials. What? Okay, I'm just saying, I'm excited about this opportunity to get to talk to this young man. But listen, all that is great. But he also started a nonprofit called Swim to Code. What? Swim to Code is dedicated to empowering underserved youth by teaching them both swimming and computer programming. You already know those are two amazing fields, one where we don't do often, but we need those skills, especially swimming, and coding is the future, which is exactly what he wants to do, to build their confidence and skills, to have opportunities in the future. Well, without further ado, I get to bring to this podcast audience, not only is he a swimmer, we're going back to basics, so swimming is his basics, but he's also a triathlete. Nnamnse Ammons, welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Look at that swim to code. You see that, y'all? I'm really, really, really. I'm sure Dre didn't tell you how I just was grilling him about you. Like, you mean to tell me he's in the DC area and I didn't know? Like, not that I should know everybody in DC who does triathlons, but I do think I should know everybody who's doing amazing things like you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Dre's my brother, so I love him to death.
Andre Hamill, I know you're listening because you said you were. So I need you. This is your call to action. It's time. 2025. You have 10 more months to do your first triathlon. All right. There it is. It's done. Okay. Nnamnse, swimming.
Yes.
You went to DeMatha High School, broke all kind of records there. How did you get into swimming? Like in DC?
Well, my mother used to, when I was younger, she used to go to aerobics every day after work, and I was just kind of the little kid that was constantly getting into different types of mischief while she was in her aerobics class. And one of the members of the aerobics class told her that they had swim lessons in the building adjacent to the building that we were doing, or they were doing the aerobics in. And so my mother put me in swim lessons in Washington D.C. and I picked it up right away. It was something that it just became natural to me, and my learning curve for whatever reason was very short, and it was something that I stuck with, and I'm glad that my mother put me into it and really forced me to stick with it as well. So yes.
So, unlike most people who were really scared of the water, you literally jumped in and was a fish.
Um, I wouldn't say immediately, but I would say that I picked it up fairly quickly, and when it comes to swimming, it really just depends. I mean, sometimes folks pick it up quickly, sometimes folks pick it up slower, but it doesn't have any indication of what type of swimmer you are going to be. But it's just something that I just naturally gravitated towards and picked it up quickly and was able to do pretty well in it. So yeah.
So, when did you know that this could be a ticket for you?
So I didn't know for a long time. I really just thought it was just something to do, even though I would go to different swim meets and stuff like that. But when I started looking at a lot of the individuals around me and just seeing how I would go to certain swim meets that, say, my peers weren't privy to going to because they didn't qualify, you start to kind of realize that you're a part of a group where it's a short list. And so, really, just I would say just going to the different swim meets and looking at different competition across the country. And when you start traveling and just getting different notoriety within different publications, that's when it starts to kind of dawn on you that it could be your ticket to getting the next level of education paid for. So, and then on top of that, of course, I have my mother in my ear at all times, pretty much telling me that, hey, this gonna get you the scholarship, so you got to stick with it.
So, you are earlier in this month, we had Rashawn Ali on, who also went to school on a scholarship to swim, and later started a nonprofit called Sporty Girls, which also encouraged other women, minority women, how to swim and just do non-traditional sports. It was swimming, soccer, tennis, and golf, and I think they've added lacrosse as of recently. But they had to learn all those sports, and so I love the fact that this was an opportunity for you to go to school, not just to any school, but you went to Florida State, so a nationally um, a Division I school to swim, which,
Yes.
to your point, a lot of your peers didn't get that opportunity. Um, so let's talk about, before we get into your career at Florida State, let's talk about the records that you broke at DeMatha, which opened the door for you to go to Florida State. And how did you even, was swimming, like going to DeMatha, that's an opportunity as well. So like, how did you, tell me all that story? I don't even know how to frame the question.
It's all right. It's all right. We working together, so I'll just go ahead and jump right in. So I actually started high school at St. John's, and I
Okay.
transferred into DeMatha, and I just always had a great bond with the coach there. And the coach he was amazing. He's someone that I knew since I was a young kid. So when the opportunity came to be able to uh, transfer over to DeMatha, I just embraced it. Um, it was a great high school opportunity. I mean, because you had so many top tier athletes as well as students, and you just on a daily basis, it was iron sharpens iron, and so while I was at DeMatha, I mean, it was uh, it was great. I mean, the swim scene there was awesome. Although I was participating in a sport that was non-traditional for African Americans, the entire school embraced it. I mean, it was really more of a brotherhood than anything. So at a lot of our swim meets, we would have individuals that played other sports that would come and support. And so you didn't ever feel like you were by yourself. And so as far as the Matha, went 2 years undefeated, broke several of their records. And, at the time, I would say I didn't realize really what I was doing. I really was just more so focused on the team winning and trying to compete as much as I could in order to give our team the best shot as far as winning the championship. But looking back on it, I definitely will say I did kick a little bit of butt while I was in the Mathis. So it was all good.
It's the humble brag to me. I did kick a little butt while I was there. Yeah, you did. You did more than a little bit. So that opened the door for Florida State. And at Florida State, you did some similar things. Like you were in the, I think, all made the All-American team or top eight.
So,
Was
yeah, so I was all conference multiple year. I mean, pretty much every year in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and just had an opportunity to compete with some of the fastest swimmers in the world. And Florida State was amazing. It was almost an extension of DeMatha because we had so many individuals that were top tier athletes throughout the world, and you just had the support of those individuals. And so just being able to draw support from not just my teammates, but also other individuals on campus really made the difference. And so for me, it was just always comfort. And it really gave me courage of my convictions as it relates to the pool on a regular basis because I always had individuals that were pushing me to be the best I could possibly be.
mm. And that's needed. And not everyone has the opportunity to gain that experience that I'm sure has translated into so many other things for you as an adult, in your business that you have, in starting
Mhm.
Swim to Code, and just the discipline that it has. We had on maybe a season or two ago. I know her name. It's the evening. I see her face. She went to Florida State as well, and mm, Colleen Quigley. Okay, all right, yeah. So we had Colleen Quigley on, and she talked about her experience at Florida State and how it was something like she had never experienced, especially being a student athlete. So that goes to show that Florida State definitely takes care of their student athletes and ensuring that they have a good experience that is well rounded, that they can not only do their schoolwork, but also participate in sports and have a little bit of a social life, just a little bit. So
That's right.
after school, how did you, okay, after school, you say, hey, the Olympics, there's an opportunity? Or did the Olympics, like, did you just try out and it was like, hey, I want to see what can happen? Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? Because I mean, it's like seeing Colin's brother here. Like, come on, like this is so incredible. What was that like for you to race or compete in the Olympic trials?
Sure. So Olympic trials were great. I actually initially went after my freshman year in college to the Olympic trials, and so when I graduated college, there was still a few months before the next Olympic trials. So my goal was to train hard for the Olympic trials and see what I could possibly do as potentially to make the team. However, my mother got sick, and my mother had breast cancer, and I had to make the decision to no longer train and move back to DC to pretty much be there for my mother. And she was stage 4 breast cancer, and it's a decision that I don't regret. I mean, it was a great career when it came to swimming, but what I will say is that my mother, she had had breast cancer since I was 15. And so pretty much every year she would go into remission and then come out of it. But this time was a little bit different. And I just, again, made the decision while swimming was great. And it is something that I definitely worked extremely hard at. Family is more important. And, I decided to, come home, get a job pretty close to home so I could be close and help my mother, throughout the times that she was sick. So um, she wound up passing away, I would say, after I came home, a few months after I graduated. She probably had passed away about 6 months after that. But, I'm sorry, 8 months after that. But those 8 months were amazing because I had an opportunity to just really get a chance to really bond with her as an adult and just assist her as much as I possibly could while she was sick. So it was the least I could do.
The fact, I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your mother, but I love the fact that you have no regrets about that decision. And bonding with our parents as adults is very different than when we're kids. And so the fact that you were able to do that, I'm sure those memories will continue to live on in your memory bank when you need to pull on them. So, um,
Absolutely.
way to be a good son, you
Thank
know?
you, thank you, thank you. She's definitely in a better place. So, but it was a blessing to be able to spend as much time as I could with her. So, again, I don't regret it, and I just cherish the memories that I was able to create during that time frame.
So you're back in DC, you're working,
Mhm.
and you discover this sport called triathlon. How did you discover it, and what was that transition like for you?
So I actually did not discover it in DC. So after my mother passed, I had started to consider job opportunities outside of the state. And I wound up getting recruited by an organization that was located in Miami. So I really just wanted a change. And while in Miami, one of my clients who wound up turning into be one of my good friends, he's the individual who suggested triathlons. And so for me, just in general, I was looking for some type of hobby that did not involve, going to a party or something like that. So I wanted something that was a little productive and definitely something that was going to keep the Homer Simpson down a little bit. So my good friend, he suggested triathlons because it was something he had just picked up, and he had started to like it quite a bit. So once I moved back to DC and started my company, um, again, I needed a good hobby, and I started to look into it. And I was like, wow, wait, there's a sport where you can swim, bike, and run. And I figured I'm always up for a challenge, and I figured I would challenge myself and jump into something I had no idea what it was going to be about.
Okay, so you learned about it in Miami, but didn't really do it until you moved back here to the district.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So you're back here in the district. And by the way, triathlon is a very, very good sport if you're looking to maximize your time and not party. It is a very good way because you got to go to sleep in order to get up so that you can do those workouts. So if you're listening and you're like, I'm living this party lifestyle. It's great. The happy hours are great, but I need something more. Come on over to the light side. Triathlon is here to welcome you with open arms and workouts to accompany it. All right. So
Yeah, absolutely.
we're back here. You start your business
Mhm.
and you look for a race, or do you just start training first and just say, I'll find a race eventually?
No. So I actually look for a race, and I always like to jump into things head on. And so I found a race in Philadelphia, and it was one of the shorter distances, just because I wasn't even sure that I would be able to stay alive long enough. So, just to give you an idea, as good of a swimmer as I am, I'm actually horrible when it comes to running. So, even walking, sometimes I trip. So, um, but if you don't turn around, it didn't happen. So, my thing has always been, when it comes to running, I'm like, that's why I swim. There's no point. So I really was nervous about the running portion, and so I decided to do the Olympic distance, which is, I believe it's almost a mile swim. It's about 25 mile or 26 miles on the bike, and then a 6 mile run. And so I just signed up for this race. I had no idea what I was doing. I don't even think I had a bike at the time. But again, I'm all about the challenge and trying to overcome the challenge. So yeah, that was my first race. And one of the things I'll say about that race is everything that could have went wrong that race did go wrong. And so yeah, what a first race.
Well, of course, we want to know what went wrong. Like that's the whole point. We want to know the whole things. But I love
Okay.
the fact that you dive in head first. You're like me,
Okay.
but I'm like I have that quality. It's like, oh, sure, you want me to try it? I'm in, and you be like, but
Right.
well,
Yeah.
what did
What did I
I,
what did I sign up
why
for?
didn't I research? Like I've interviewed other people, and they're like, yeah, so I researched and I did this, and I'm like, maybe had I researched things, I could have done a little different. But I feel like you did the Tri Rock Philly. Is that the race that you did
That's the
in?
one I did. Absolutely. Where
Yeah.
you swim in the Schuylkill, you know?
It's when you swim in the Schuylkill. Yes, yes, yes. Did you get sick afterwards for a little bit? Because I don't know.
Absolutely. I got sick during
Listen,
the race.
that pool. Anyway, that there's something in that river. I don't know
It
what it
is. But
is.
I love Philly. I love
I do
Philly.
too.
I've always thought that it was a bigger version of DC. So love
Yes.
Philly. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Swimming in the Schuylkill is a different, it's a different it's beautiful. Let me just say that. It's absolutely beautiful. It's dirty and it's nasty, but it is beautiful because of the landscapes that you get to swim by on both sides of the river.
That's
Um,
right.
and it takes your mind off of maybe what's underneath. It keeps you focused on
Right.
something a little bit different. Now, if you swallow some of the water, that's between you and your stomach and however
Oh
you
yeah.
metabolize it. But
Yeah.
it really was a beautiful race. So let's talk about this race that whatever could go wrong, it did go wrong. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I grew to learn about triathlons is that one of the most important things is nutrition. It all matters. I didn't know this. So when I got there, I was starving the day before the race, and I decided to have a steak dinner, a huge steak dinner, the night before, with potatoes, everything. I think I went all out, and I didn't realize that would probably still sit on my stomach the next day. So that was kind of strike one. Um, and that night, when I was just kind of laying out my equipment, I had realized that I had left several things at home. One of those being my tennis shoes, socks. Um, I believe one of the jerseys that I was going to wear, I left that as well, and I also left the pedals on my bike. I left that as well. So um, I left the pedals. I think I left some of my water, one of my water bottles, and so I had to, on top of that, do the race with half the equipment. When I dove into the water, my goggles came off. Um, wasn't expecting that, but it is quite the chore to swim through the Schuylkill with no goggles. Um, One of the swimmers that was swimming next to me, um, they were kind of swimming a little erratic, put a rip in my swim trunks. So, I kind of had a hole in my trunks, and you keep your same tights on pretty much the entire race. So I definitely had a hole around the butt cheek area, while I was racing. So um, again, I got on the bike with. I actually did not have my cycling shoes, so I had to use the new pair of running shoes that I purchased that day. and with socks as well. And it was a little difficult just not being able to paddle to pedal on the bike without my pedals, but I made it work, and it was just interesting. It was just an interesting race, but I gutted it out and I finished it, and it was the thing that made me fall in love with the sport. So I only had to go up from there. So I started at the bottom.
I love that mentality. The fact that you chose to use the adversity as a pivotal point versus saying I'm going to quit, that shows me or tells me everything about like your character and not giving up just because things might be difficult, but you looked at it as a challenge, and you did have to overcome a lot for that first race. I must say, um, no tennis shoes. So okay, for those of you who just heard that, checklists are important.
Absolutely.
Make a checklist and or find a checklist online. There's plenty of checklists out here that you can kind of get a general sense of what you need. And then if there's particular things that you train with, ensure that you have those things with you, because to not have pedals, especially if you're used to clipping in, definitely can change the way you your ride per se. And not having running shoes and having to break in running shoes on an Olympic, 6 miles of your feet being like, what you doing to me and why? What are you doing? Why are we here? Which can cause blisters and all sorts of things. And there are some things in this story that you couldn't control. Water getting in your goggles, it's bound to happen. It could happen. If it hasn't happened yet, it might happen. You don't know. It just depends on how you jump in and the pressure of the water that day. So many things can happen. So for that one, I'll let you slide with that one. That one wasn't your fault, but everything else definitely was. However, you moved up from there. So you said, okay, the Olympic, did you have a redemption race where you said, let me try this again where I'm a little bit more organized?
No, no, I just decided to dive right into craziness.
Oh,
And
okay.
when I found out that the biggest one that you could do is called the Ironman, which is 2.5 mile swim, 113-mile bike ride, and a marathon at the end, 26.2 mile run. I figured, hey, you know what? I could die tomorrow. So, I should try to sign up for this one and do it as soon as possible, just in case they need to put it on my tombstone.
Sorry. So I want to make sure I'm tracking the story right. You have this horrible race for the Olympic. You
Right.
find out that there's something where all the buttons can fall off, anything can go wrong, and you go immediately from this horrible Olympic straight to the iron distance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Um, but for a person who doesn't like to run and can't run, and you say that you would trip over yourself if you're walking,
Yeah.
how, why? What made you say that this was a good idea? Well, no, it was not a good idea, but it was a good idea. But what made you say, let's do this?
Well, for me, I always like to challenge myself as much as I possibly can. And so I knew that if I was able to overcome this, something that I haven't ever done that I know that will be extremely difficult for me, um, then I know that I made the right decision. And also know just from swimming in general, a lot of times when you're able to overcome a any feat really, but especially an athletic feat, that really carries on into other areas in your life. At least for me, every time that I complete a triathlon, especially an Ironman, the mental the mental fortitude that I have after that, and that I'm able to accomplish is, it's leaps and bounds. So having the ability to be able to overcome something, I just know what that does to everything in your life. So I figured I would step up to the plate, and again, nothing. What do they say? Nothing. What's the saying? Nothing gained is nothing. I'm probably saying it wrong, but at the end of the day, I wanted to overcome something and I wanted to accomplish something that I thought was going to be an amazing feat. And that's why I decided to do the Ironman. Now, I will say this: I didn't willingly, well, I did willingly do it, but how it wound up happening was it was something that was on my mind. I was at a bachelor party, and then the next morning, I realized that at the bachelor party, I guess while I was hanging out with my friends, I did sign up. And when you sign up for an Ironman, there are no refunds. So, I wake up the next morning, I'm checking my email, and then I realized that I had signed up the night before. So once it's done, it's done. And, it was the universe telling me, don't stop, get it.
Again, bad decisions. At a bachelor party, you sign up. So that means you really weren't in your right mind 100%. But either way, you did it. And I think sometimes that's the fun part about it. You've already said that you like to jump in head first. And this is another instance in which that happened and it worked out for you. So, what was your first distance, your first iron distance? Where was it? What was it like training for it? And tell us about your race.
Sure, sure. So the first distance was the full Ironman distance, and that was in Texas, the Woodlands. And training for it, I had no idea what I was doing. Again, I just signed up for it. I had no idea. I had a friend of mine who was good on bike, was good on the bike, and I would ride with him on the weekends. And other than that, I would just still swim in the mornings, like I had been. And when it came to running, I was still trying to figure that out. I was YouTubing how to run. I was calling my friends who were former Florida State track folks or anyone I knew who knew how to run. I would ask them for tips and stuff like that. So training, I won't say that I was the best when it came to training because I was still running a business and working 12-hour days. So it was difficult to train every day. But on the weekends, I tried to make up as much as I possibly could. The first race, the first Ironman, how they have it is 2 days before the race, they have a banquet where everyone comes that is going to do the race, comes together, fellowships. And one of the things they had at this particular race was this thing called the biggest loser. And so they had each person raise their hand depending on how many pounds you lost, like raise your hand if you lost 5 pounds, 10 pounds, etc. And so the people who lost the most, they would have them come up to the stage, and it was like the top four. They got to the last individual, and it was this gentleman, and he said that when he initially started training for the Ironman, he was 420 pounds. He was he was 420 pounds initially when he started training for it, and he had did the Ironman a year before. And for the Ironman, I believe they give you, I think it's 18 hours to finish. And he had dropped down to 270 pounds and he had missed the cutoff time by 5 minutes. And so he was saying this year he had got down to 225 pounds. And so, or that year, he had got down to 225 pounds and he was just hoping that he could finish the race. And so I was nervous the night before because I didn't know what to expect. But when I heard that, it just kind of excited me. And yeah, I did the race. And when I was on the running portion, I wound up speaking to a woman who her story was amazing. That was her 12th Ironman. And she was just kind of telling me, she was just saying, like, hey, this year has been very interesting for me. I've had three brain surgeries and I have ovarian cancer. So, these are stories that you hear while you're on the course and when you're talking to people. And so you hear these stories and, for me, it's like I have no reason to make any type of excuses. So, you can't make any excuses in life. And, for me, it's really to do the race. It's more of a blessing because not everyone gets to do it. And you're really pushing your body and your mind to the limit. So my first race was amazing. I finished it. There were portions of the race where I felt like I wasn't going to finish. Matter of fact, every single race, there is a point in the race where you feel like you're not going to finish or that this was a bad idea. And you have to overcome that mental hurdle and you have to continue to push forward. And that's what I did.
Yeah, wow. Wow, those are very good stories and congrats to you. But you didn't stop at just that one. You've gone on to do what, a total of five?
Yes, solo of five. The Ironman's given me a reason to travel, especially outside of the country. I mean, some of the places that they have the races at, they're the beautiful destinations. In fact, the next one, I was gonna do Ironman New Zealand, but I'm not gonna be ready for that. That's actually in the beginning of March. But I am planning on doing Ironman Lanzarote, which is in the Canary Islands, which is just off the coast of Morocco, and that'll be in May. So I'm looking forward to doing that one. They say it's the
Nice.
hardest one in the world, so brother likes a challenge.
Well, be sure to keep us posted and so we can track you because tracking is a sport too. We love to track.
Absolutely.
Um, wow, so Lanzarote coming up in May of this year. So for those of you who are listening, uh when you go to the Ironman app around that time, just be sure to plug it in and track. Um, and be sure to track Nnamnse. All right, I was having a little bit of a coughing spell. You're still doing Ironman, but you also have a nice nonprofit, Swim to Code. I
Yes.
cannot let you leave here without talking about that. I think that's really what drew me in is that you're teaching young kids how to swim, but also code. That is brilliant.
Thank
How did
you.
it come about? And tell us more about the program.
Sure, sure. Well, um, I grew up swimming in the inner city. And so in the inner city, I mean, call it what it is. Most people, basketball, football, those are the only two sports for the most part, and boxing. And so I grew up swimming again in the inner city, Highland, Furby Hope, and I swam on a team. Of the majority of the team were underserved youth, and a lot of those individuals they didn't keep up with swimming, but I was looking up to them because I was the younger kid and I was able to make it out. And I was able to make it out in the sense of I was able to get a full scholarship in swimming. And so, in looking at now, you look at that particular area because I do like to give back to the community. And one of the ways that I wanted to give back was I wanted to go back into the community and show these kids from these underserved areas, that there is, a stereotype out there. And this is how we can approach the stereotype. This is how we can overcome it. You look at the numbers, Black kids in particular, 5 times more likely to drown than any other race. Right next to that, you have the Hispanic kids who are 3 times more likely to drown than any other race. And so, what is out there is the stigma that Black and brown kids can't swim because they're pre-genetically disposed to it, and that's not the truth. And so I looked at that, and then I also looked in technology. I have a tech firm, and I look at in technology, less than 4% of the tech population. You have all these jobs out there. Less than 4% of the tech population is Black, and less than 8% of the tech population is Hispanic. And so I looked at the disparities between the two, and then there's also been studies out there between the correlation between the two. And really, the correlation is if you can take what it takes to if you can take what it takes to learn how to swim and use that mental hurdle, you can apply that to anything else that you're doing, in particular in technology. So the thing that the young kids in our program, the thing that gets them over the hump to learn how to swim, to understand what it means to do different strokes, and they're able to apply that to technology, maybe they don't become a Olympic trial swimmer. Maybe they don't get a full scholarship or any scholarship at all in swimming. However, the skill set that they learn, they can apply that to technology. And with these kids, even if they're not able to go to college, what they do have is a skill set. They have two life skill sets. And so they have a skill set where they can get a job in technology because when they come through our program, by the end of it, these kids are operating as though they're entry level technology specialists. So they can get a job coming out of our program, even if they're 14, 15. If they were 18, they can get jobs ranging between 60 and 80,000 a year. For a lot of these kids and a lot of these families, that's 2 to 3 times their current household income. So now we're able to come in and break the cycle. And with technology, a lot of times it's less on the academics, more on the experience. And so if we're able to put these kids in there from underserved, low socioeconomic backgrounds and put them on a playing field where they're not just level with their peers, but in many cases, the level that we're putting them on is above their peers, they're going to be able to respond to that. And so a lot of times it's just when you look at these communities, these kids, they have just the amount of aptitude as kids would in other affluent zip codes. But if you're able to put them in a position where they're actually able to learn and you're able to foster that, and you're actually able to give a lot of these kids who typically don't get a lot of attention, um, and really give them hope. They're able to come in and, really in most cases perform on an extremely high level. I mean, these kids, I mean, they were doing work that adults do on a regular basis that adults are getting paid hundreds and thousands of dollars to do. And these are what these kids are doing from the inner city at a young age.
Oh, I was waiting for you to say more because I was like, yes,
Oh, I could
more,
keep on
please.
going. So, no, I do want to keep on going. So, with the program, what we try to do is, and it is rather unique because we take a unique approach. A lot of that is based on the curriculum that we have, and we try to make it as relatable as possible to these kids. I mean, a lot of these kids.
All right. So we had a little bit of a technology faux pas, and it's okay, but we're just going to get right back in. And you were telling us more about the students and why they need this type of program. So yeah, just keep going if you can remember where we left off.
Sure, absolutely. So with the kids, the reason it is so important, just in general, is that a lot of these kids don't necessarily have positive influences around them. But this gives these kids, regardless of their background, an opportunity to um, really be able to learn something, but also be able to change their family dynamic, and also put them in a position where when they get older, they can also give back to the community. Programs like this, and I'm not just tooting it just because it's my program, but programs like this give kids an opportunity to give them hope. So many of these kids are really told and shown on a regular basis that where they are is where they're going to stay. And what our program really tries to do is to come in and be a positive influence into these kids' lives and show them that there is more than where they're currently at. And, really try to be a positive reinforcement that these kids can really do any and everything that they want to, and that anything that is achievable. And so, just to kind of bring it full circle, that's why we introduce and initiate initially with the program. We try to have the kids learn how to swim because the overwhelming majority of them do not know how to swim. So if they can mentally understand that, hey, you know what, I was able to accomplish something I didn't even think was possible. And now you apply that to a field where the future is going, you're putting the kids in the best position to be successful in life.
Now, how do kids hear about the program in order to sign up?
So what I like to do, and as well as other members of the organization, what we do is whenever we're about to have whatever city we're in, whenever we're about to have a program, what we do is we go to all the schools, whether that's public school, public charter, private school, whatever the case may be, rec centers. We go to all of those institutions and we let everyone know that this program, we pass out the information, we send out the emails, and we really try to get the parents involved as well. If you don't mind me saying, so one of the things with our program is that we have something for the parents as well. We want to let everyone know that this isn't just a an opportunity for the children to learn; it's also for the parents to learn as well. So with the parents, we have programs for the parents as far as aerobics. We also teach the parents how to swim as well, because we think that we know that once the parents learn how to swim, they're more inclined to go to the swim pool because they can protect their children. And so, as far as getting the word out, we do try to get in contact with as many community leaders, parents, teachers as much as we possibly can. But at a minimum, we'll send everything throughout email blasts, typically through different cities that we're in. We try to go to their municipalities and find individuals' email addresses and send them kind of an email blast about the program.
So what I'm hearing is this isn't just in the DC area, but you have this in multiple cities. Can you share what cities this might be in case there are some listeners who want to get their kids or nephews, nieces involved in the program?
Correct, absolutely. So a couple of the cities are Austin, Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, Chicago, and a few cities in New York City are, or I should say, a few cities in New York. We're in the process of confirming those. So, our goal is to be in every state in the country, and every major city, but even some of the smaller cities as well. We just ultimately want to affect as many kids that we possibly can in the positive direction.
I love it. How long has the program been around?
So the program is new. It's only been around since 2023.
Wow, and you're in so many cities so fast.
Yes, it's just been a blessing. For us, it really shows that there is quite the demand. And we just try to meet the demand as much as we possibly can, and just execute. But it's really been a blessing. It's been something that's really caught fire. And again, the silent epidemic that's going on is so many kids are drowning at a high rate. And we just try to come in with two life skills and try to administer them as much as we possibly can to as many children and families as we possibly can.
I love it. I think it's amazing. So if you're in those cities that was mentioned, check it out. See how you can get involved. If you are a part of the community, see if there's a way that you can volunteer. I'm sure they could use your assistance. Um, Now back to you for training, and then we'll wrap it up. You mentioned that you have a very busy schedule. So, do you have a club that you train with? Are you familiar? Are you affiliated with any groups? Like, do you train by yourself still? Like, how do you train so that just how do you train? That's my question.
So initially, I did start with a large group. DC Tri, they're a large organization in Washington, D.C.
Hmm.
But the main thing was my schedule just wasn't fitting, the groups, the groups when they were working out and everything. So I really had to do a lot of the stuff on my own. And so because of that, I have a group of friends that I ride with on the bike, and then we ride on the weekends. And when it comes to swimming, usually I'll do that on my own. I'll usually download or write up a few workouts. Obviously, I swam my whole life, so I know how to do that part. But when it comes to running, that's probably the most difficult. I try to link with friends. Um, there are a couple of running groups that I am considering maybe getting into, but ultimately, my schedule is kind of crazy. So a lot of times especially when it comes to running, I may be running at night. You may see me running down the street at 10 o'clock at night. But ironic or very early in the morning, maybe like 4 o'clock in the morning, you may see me running down the street. But for me, it is such a release and mentally. And the great thing about it is that it gives me an opportunity to get into a rhythm, get into a program, get into really more of a routine. And so for me, I would say mostly I train by myself, or with friends, but not a consistent group. But I think for those triathletes that are, or potential triathletes that are looking to get into the sport, that is the thing that actually helps you quite a bit, is having that social circle. And so it's just, for me, it's extremely tough because of my schedule, but I try to do the best I possibly can.
And you still out here doing it. You still trying. So get it in how you fit in and you're doing it. So um thank you so much. We're going to move on to rapid fire. Uh but Nnamnse, this has been really great. And again, the organization is Swim to Code. So
Yes.
it's swimtocode.org if people wanted to check
Yes.
out more information.
Yes, if anyone wanted to check out, or please check out our website. It's swim, SWIM, 2TO, and then code, CODE.org. Check us out. We'll have announcements on there, new cities that we'll be involved in, and repeat cities that we'll have the program year round. So, just definitely check on our website, and we'll just have the opportunities on there, as well as follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is swim to code. So definitely check us out there for a minute. So
And how long is the program in length?
sure. So the program, it varies, but for the most part, each segment is 6 weeks. And
Okay.
so throughout those segments, we go through a myriad of technology, curriculum, as well as it relates to swimming. We don't just do freestyle, or don't just do tread and water. We actually teach you how to swim other strokes as well. So by the end of pretty much each segment and each program, you're learning a new stroke, and your proficiency is amazing. So, yes.
All right. Well, there you have it. Now we get to move on to a little bit more fun. Well, I think it's fun. It's called Rapid Fire. So, with that said, favorite music artist?
Great question. I would have to say Larry June. Um, he's a rapper, but his style is a little unique. So I would go with him. Yes.
Okay. Favorite song?
Organic, organic oranges.
Okay. Swim start, wave start, or mass start?
Mass start. Why not? Why not? Why not be in the mix? I mean, that's part of it, is, feeling feeling someone hit you while you're swimming. I mean, that just adds to the fun, and it's
No, it
almost a
doesn't.
survival of the fittest type of deal. So I love it.
That does
Adds to the
not add
action.
to the fun.
Adds to the action.
For some people, that might add to the action, not for all people. But um, you mentioned nutrition. So, gels or real food for race day nutrition these days?
Real food, real food. Now, when I say real food, I'm not talking a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit or something like that. I mean real food, as in, something that is light, something that is going to hold steady. But gels, to me, those, they just don't do it. You need
Okay.
something with a little substance.
Okay. Um, race in a big city or countryside?
I would say countryside. The benefit of having countryside is you just get an opportunity. At least me, living in DC, I see city life all the time. So in the countryside, it's always serene, it's always beautiful, and you just get an opportunity to just really take in the scenery. And just for me, that's part of the joy of doing triathlons, because you're able to take in sights that you won't typically see on a regular basis. So countryside for sure.
Dream training partner, alive or historical?
Mm, I would say alive, alive. Yes.
Who?
I would say, actually, my friend Rashid Jones. He's an amazing training partner. He's a bit of a drill sergeant, which is why I like him. Sometimes I need someone yelling at me and to get me going. So, he knows how to kind of tap into that, and he's a bit unorthodox, I should say, as far as the way he trains. So he's a bit of a old school guy. So I like it. The old school still works.
Rasheed, that's down at Berry Farm, Rasheed.
Yep, we
Oh
talking about the
Lord.
same guy. So you
Woo.
already know. Yeah, the drill sergeant.
The drill.
Yes,
Yep.
drill sergeant. Yes,
I need
yes.
to get him on the podcast, but I'm scared. I don't know what he's gonna say. Oof. Just don't know what he might say. But yeah, he is for those of you who remember when I said that there was a person who put a Navy SEAL on me in the water, it was Rasheed. He was like, go get her. Like it was the Navy SEAL's job to catch me. And I don't think he caught me that particular day, but he pushed me. He came very close and was like pushing me in the water. But Rasheed,
Right.
my goodness. Yeah, he's a legend around here.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Focus. Chubbies or Guthries?
Guthrie's.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say if you were
Specifically
going
a gut box.
a gut
Specifically a
box.
gut box.
That's it. That's it. All right. I was just, checking your Tallahassee cred, because if not, we was gonna revoke those privileges.
Listen, hey, shout out to Frenchtown.
Do you have any race day superstitions?
Race day superstitions. Don't eat steak the night before. I mean, race day, I really don't have any superstitions. I kind of go with it. I try to relax, make sure I use the bathroom before I leave the house so I don't have to go to the Porta Johns, but that's about it.
Well, since we're on the Porta Johns, pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break?
No, pee on the bike. If you're going to do it, you got to do it all the way. And I'm going to tell you, like someone told me, it's just, when you do it, you just have to kind of signal and make sure no one's directly behind you. But, it's like, hopping in the water. You pee in the water, pee on the bike, one and the same.
There it is. Well, thank you so much, Nnamnse. This has been great. We have this saying at Try Beginner's Luck: whenever you try, you always win. And that is true. And as we can see, Nnamnse has been winning since he started swimming, since we're taking it back to basics. So be sure to like, share, follow. We're on all your major platforms, including YouTube. And with that, we're out. My name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines, and we're out. Peace. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you always win.